This is a letter to Attorney General Josh Hawley. I'm aware of the public request to your office to investigate the Catholic Church in Missouri with regard to clergy sexual abuse. The Archdiocese of St. Louis, during my time here as bishop, has always taken the protection of children and youth as one of our highest priorities. To this end, we have always cooperated with law enforcement in any investigation into these matters, and we will continue to do so. Last year, I instructed that a review of our safe environment protocols to protect children and vulnerable adults be undertaken by a former member of the FBI with experience in this area. She found our protocols to be appropriate and robust. I now invite you to review our files for the purpose of making an independent determination of our handling of allegations of clergy sexual abuse in the Archdiocese of St. Louis. Thank you for your consideration of this request and for all that you do for the state of Missouri. Signed by myself, Archbishop of St. Louis.
Archbishop, good afternoon. What are in these files? Some people might think it's a list of accused priests or something else about your protocol. What's in the files?
The files that we're talking about are actually files of anyone who's been accused of sexual abuse. And while we don't know the protocols yet that the Attorney General's office will use, any files that they want to see will be available to them.
How many priests serving and no longer serving are in the files?
I don't have a number. I can tell you that in the time I've been here, that takes us back to 2009, there were no new accusations made against a priest who had not formally been accused.
Archbishop, why are you being so open with this investigation? Why make this so available to the public and to the investigators?
There are a couple of reasons. Number one, some of the people who have written to me have asked that I would do that. Secondly, as I said in an interview a few days ago, we have nothing to hide. And third, I think that our program has been very robust, and in the time I've been here, the review board is mainly made up of professional lay people not working for the church, and I've been in a situation where I could accept any recommendation that they made, and so I think our people deserve to know what we've done, and also for the people that work for the Archdiocese to see that we've been doing what we should do.
I know you've said there's nothing in there that has happened under your time and that you have a pretty good understanding. Is there a chance, though, that this is a bit of a gamble for you?
I don't think so, because obviously in the past those cases were handled. Many of them were taken to the review board at that time. I think if there was something that, to use your phrase, a bit of a gamble, I think we'd have been aware of that.
You mentioned that you got some letters from people urging you to do this. I guess that's since the Pennsylvania report came out. What sort of voices have you heard from, and has anybody threatened to withhold money or contributions? What sort of pressures have you been under?
Actually, there's a lot less mail than I thought we'd have. But to answer your last question, yes, there are a few people who said that they plan to withhold their funds.
Substantial funds?
I didn't check what they've given in the past. But they did say that they were going to withhold funds. But the majority of the people said, tell us what you've been doing. Let us know. And make sure that it's not done by you, but by an independent agency. And it's my feeling that the Attorney General would be the appropriate agency to do this. And obviously it's going to be at arm's length. And we're going to have to meet to see what their protocols are going to be. But we're looking forward to that process beginning.
To jump off of that, what have you been doing? What are the protocols in place to protect children under the Archdiocese?
Yeah, Sandra Price is here, and she directs that office. And I'm going to ask her to respond to that question.
Thank you so much, and I'm so glad you asked. Right now, we have a very extensive program and lots of policies and checks and balances and accountability measures in place. We have trained over 100,000 volunteers, employees, clerics, deacons, parents on how to recognize warning signs of child sexual abuse, how to report their warning signs to the state of Missouri, and how to keep the programs and ministries very safe. Controlling access to children is key. We also have one very specific rule in the diocese, and that is anyone who works with children may not ever be alone in private with a child. So we train everyone on that, from the janitor to the principal to the deacons and the priests. That is a very significant rule for us. The other thing we require is that everyone has a background check now. So we're constantly reviewing background checks. And we also have a very specific code of ethical conduct that outlines ministerial practices that are appropriate when working with children and vulnerable adults. So we do a lot of auditing as well. We go out and we audit all of the parishes and schools to make sure those policies are being followed and practiced regularly. We also have our reporting numbers on how to report child sexual abuse and really any type of abuse for children to the state of Missouri. That's always the priority. And certainly if there is someone in our church family or a church personnel that needs to be looked at, they call us, and we have a process for reviewing and investigating any concerns once the state has handled it. So there's many things we do. I could talk all day about it if you like, but really we have a very strong program in place that I am very proud of.
Bishop Carlson, how can people trust that what you're handing over to the Attorney General is the whole truth?
Well, obviously, the Attorney General's staff will have access to our files and
Unfettered access?
unfettered access. And obviously, anything that we have, we'll turn over. By the way, I should tell you, this is something that actually I did back in 2002 when I was in the Diocese of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I invited the Attorney General at that time to have his staff come and look at the files, and that's precisely what they did. I think it was very helpful then. I'm hopeful that it will be very helpful now, and it will give confidence to the people of the Archdiocese of St. Louis.
Can you tell us just a little bit about your reaction when you heard the results of the investigation in Pennsylvania, just the sheer numbers, 300 priests, 1,000 children? What sort of thoughts were you feeling when you heard the results?
I would have to say that my feeling was one of shock. In retrospect, how can you condone that, or how can you approve of something like that? At the same time, they went back 70 years, and I'm a little bit older than that, but that was a long time ago. So I think in retrospect, I think that was something that the Attorney General decided to do. They weren't invited. I think by inviting them in, I think you create a much more positive atmosphere. And so I hope that that the investigators who come here feel comfortable with what they can do, and at an arm's length, we look forward to their report.
And Archbishop, just so we can write it clearly, I want to go back, please, to the idea of what's in the files. Would you characterize, are there dozens of names, 10, 20, or how many names of priests living or deceased, serving or no longer serving? Just to give us an estimate of how thick of a file it is.
Well, the file for each priest would be different. For instance, if there are many people come forward to complain about somebody, it would be thicker because there'd be their letter or their conversation or their attorney's letter or whatever it might be. If it's been reported to the police, we might not get involved until later, so it's hard to say how much would be in any one file. There are a number of files. The exact number I don't know.
Can you give a rough estimate of how many priests are contained in all the files?
Well, all the priests.
I might be able to help.
Okay, thank you.
I can tell you that the number of living priests that we have that are removed from priestly ministry is, I believe, 27.
And are there any currently serving priests, or what is the phrase, credibly accused, or who are under suspicion? Or, I mean, people are going to wonder, is this going to affect my parish priest? If you could just give us an idea of who might be in the file and who's not. Does this affect people who are out there now?
We don't have any priests serving in priestly ministry with substantiated or credible allegations of abuse. I can't reiterate that enough.
And I just have one more question, please, for the Archbishop.
Sure.
Is this files being turned over, is it sort of fresh to the market? Has any other local or any prosecutor ever seen this information before? Will Holly be seeing things for the first time no one else ever has?
Well, there were cases in the past, and I understand that one prosecutor or another may have asked for something, and if they did, we sent it to them. I don't know what that number is. Again, that was around 2002, and I came here in 2009. But some prosecutors have had a file or whatever. You know, because some priests went to court.
Can you tell us a little bit about the FBI investigation, how it started, why it started, what they were looking into, and maybe what the results of that were?
I can tell you how it started, and Sandra can tell you what exactly they looked at. I felt it was important that we would have our protocols reviewed. And this was 2017. There was no crisis going on at the time. But I've found over the years, and I've been a bishop a long time, that it's good to review your processes from time to time in all kinds of areas, and this certainly being one. And so this former FBI agent came in, and she reviewed files, she interviewed people, she talked to a variety of people. And Sandra, maybe you can talk about some of the things that she looked at.
The FBI agent that came in, she is actually retired and she's a consultant. She came in and she, like Archbishop said, she reviewed all of our policies and benchmarked those policies against what everyone else in the country is doing. She also interviewed members of our Archdiocesan Review Board, the lay members who make recommendations to the Archbishop. She looked at all of our protocols, and she reviewed our audit process with the parishes and the schools that we have. She kind of really had open access to look at whatever she wanted, and she had some enhancements for our program, but really she said we had a very strong program. We're actually going to be implementing some new technology to make volunteers and employees and clergy with their background checks and things a little easier to track. She really interviewed a lot of people and took a lot of time to figure out, you know, to double check answers and those types of things. So,
27 you mentioned that are not in priestly duties, are they still affiliated with the church in some way? Are they still paid?
that, I'll let Archbishop answer that.
Some of the ones have been removed from the priesthood, and they are not paid. There are some who, because of their age, were put on prayer and penance, and they live in one of our facilities, and they receive a stipend.
Do you know how many of the 27?
I don't.
This will be the last question.
This man over here is trying to get one in.
I was going to ask, assuming that there are some clergy members who work in other dioceses in Missouri, how will an issue of whether their records from those other dioceses, will they also be handed over to the Attorney General, or how they handle those?
I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you that after sending this letter, I called the other bishops in Missouri and said, this is what the Archdiocese of St. Louis is doing. And a couple of the bishops said that's a great idea, but what they're going to do, I don't know at this moment. But we did this for one simple reason. The credibility of the Archdiocese and the fact that several people wrote to me asked us to do it, and I thought that was a fair request. And I've done it before. So.
Thank you, Archbishop.
You're welcome.
The letter that Archbishop sent to Attorney General Hawley will be available in PDF form on the Archdiocesan website at the Media Resources location. Thank you for coming out today. We appreciate your time.